Greetings, ghoulish grognard gang, on this giggly, goopy goodness evening of the Hallow season. Hey, pink guy. Norbs. It's not a Breath of the Wild stream. Well, that's true, but is not a gourd an orb? So we're still doing it tonight. And we're doing it to the gorb. Speaking of gorbs, I'm Tony Hatter. I'm here, and I am the head ringleader of the garage gang of here, where you are now, the Grognard Garage. GG. Welcome in, and if this is your first time attending because you're a friend of some of our other friends, welcome on in. We love to play games about stories, tell stories, talk about stories, and this evening we're going to have an extra helping. 4 different stories. 3 from friends doing readings, and then the 4th is the story of me tackling this Titanic, I wanted to say tuber, but it's not. It's, no, it's a squash, I think. It's in the family. Anyway, so let me get you a bird's eye view of the horrors we're going to inflict on this thing. And we're gonna get rolling here, and with the live action, and then once we've gotten a little ways into it, we'll make our way over to our friend, our first friend, who's going to be sharing with us. Now, I've been doing pumpkin carving for a while. Many years of my life I've spent at least one evening a year taking apart perfectly good produce. Usually I go from the top, do a thing with a little divot, little chimney, all nice and pretty, but this year I'm gonna get weird. This year I'm gonna go from the bottom and gut the bottom out. I've seen this recommended a few times by people who look like they knew what they were doing. So we're gonna see if we mess it up from the start. So the way I run that sucker is I will chart my course with a Sharpie and then jab around. So you get to join me for this little bit anyway. And then once I get started in earnest, I'll flip over to our first friend, and we can listen to them while I go to town on this bad boy. And yeah, I think since we're going from the bottom, I don't need a chimney. I'm just gonna give it a nice red ring where I'm going in. So usually I have one of my pocket knives, my nice big Benchmade Ruckus, and its name is Scout Leader because any good any good tool, any good magical item needs a name. But it's a little dull. It's about as sharp as a bowling ball, and a sharp tool is a safe tool, and it's not safe. So we're gonna go with one of these suckers from a kit, and there's the first contact. So we're in. So let me get around to the other side of this. But yeah, so shout out to our friends who will be reading this evening, and shout out to our friends who couldn't make it. We had a few people who were raring to go, eager to help, but life happened. It happened to me this weekend alone. In almost the last 2 days, I've been invited to a birthday, 2 wedding receptions, and 1 Halloween party. So good problems. It's great to have friends who are eager to see you and hang out with you and do all that. But man, when it rains, it pours. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we want the glamour shots. Here we go. So yeah, we're gonna get in here. Pink guy, gorbs. That's right. There we go. Yeah. Let me get right up into the camera. 1080p. Goodness. All right. Now to let you know what's gonna happen here. Oh, hey, camera. Follow. Nope. Hello? Hello? Ooh, yeah, my camera did not like that. Whoop. It's all the same tone, maybe? Is that why? Give me. Wow, that camera said nah, dog. Let me see if I. Okay, well, enough fun with that. So to give you oh, see, there it's figuring it out. To give you a little breakdown of what's going to happen, I'm gonna I'm gonna carve this off of here, make it pretty, take a layer off, and then I'm just gonna get started in here and just start scraping down super hard so that looks healthy, looks good. Okay, yeah, see, it's a nice orifice. Um, and just start scraping down the walls, make them nice and primed. Helps get some of the excess moisture out, and then that also helps when you carve on the walls you want to carve on. It makes it so you're not having to cut as deep, and the moisture doesn't leach out as hard, making things slick and grimy. So that's what I'm going to start working on during our first story. First off, let me get that set up so we have our friend ready to rumble. And so our first story friend is Ms. Spooky Pie. You might have seen her waiting tables, slinging hash, and serving damn fine cups of coffee at The Horror Diner. You can find Miss Spooky Pie, The Horror Diner, on Instagram, TikTok, I believe Blue Sky, definitely YouTube, where their main content is posted, as well as Patreon. So go down there, slap down your $1 for your coffee, or more if you want a bigger plate of goodies, because they have a patron. There's a patron book club that is fascinating. That not just her short form book reviews, but longer form. And then there's also a Discord. So go check that out. She just dropped a new video today. So if you haven't seen it yet, hang out here to the end of the stream, and then go check that out. So we've got an evening plan for you of spooky delights here and beyond. So let's check in on Miss Spooky Pie of the Horror Diner.
Thanks, Tony. I'm Miss Spooky Pie, and I run the Horror Diner, which you may or may not know about. This is where I do my stuff, and today I'm going to be reading you one of my favorite spooky fairy tales, Vasilisa the Beautiful, also known as the Tale of Baba Yaga. Please appreciate my beautifully handmade chicken foot hut that I bought at a craft fair like 5 years ago and is one of the most gorgeous things I own. It's perfect. Also, on the topic of things being perfect, the illustrations in this book are beautiful, so I will stop and hold them up to the camera as I go. With that being said, let's get into it. In a certain tsardom across 3 times 9 kingdoms, beyond high mountain chains, there once lived a merchant. He had been married for 12 years, but in that time there had been born to him only one child, a daughter, who from her cradle was called Vasilisa the Beautiful. When the little girl was 8 years old, her mother fell ill, and before many days it was plain to be seen that she must die. So she called her little daughter to her, took a tiny wooden doll from under the blanket of the bed, put it into her hands, and said, "My little Vasilisa, my dear daughter, listen to what I am saying. Remember well my last words, and fail not to carry..." Sorry, something just fell down. "And fail not to carry out my wishes. I am dying, and with my blessing I leave to thee this little doll. It is very precious, for there is no other like it in the whole world. Carry it always about with thee in thy pocket, and never show it to anyone. When evil threatens thee, or sorrow befalls thee, go into a corner, take it from thy pocket, and give it something to eat and drink. It will eat and drink a little, and then thou mayest tell it thy trouble and ask its advice, and it will tell thee how to act in thy time of need." So saying, she kissed her little daughter on the forehead, blessed her, and shortly after died. Little Vasilisa grieved greatly for her mother, and her sorrow was so deep that when the dark night came, she lay in her bed and wept and did not sleep. At length she bethought herself of the tiny doll, So she rose and took it from the pocket of her gown, and finding a piece of wheat bread and a cup of kvass, I'm I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. I'm not Russian. I think it's kvass. Let's go with that. And a cup of kvass. She set them before it and said, "There, my little doll, take it, eat a little and drink a little, and listen to my grief. My dear mother is dead, and I am lonely for her." Then the doll's eyes began to shine like fireflies, and suddenly it became alive. It ate a morsel of the bread and took a sip of the kvass, and when it had eaten and drank, it said, "Don't weep, little Vasilisa. Grief is worse at night. Lie down, shut thine eyes, comfort thyself, and go to sleep. The morning is wiser than the evening." So Vasilisa the Beautiful lay down, comforted herself, and went to sleep. And the next day her grieving was not so deep, and her tears were less bitter. Now after the death of his wife, the merchant sorrowed for many days, as was right. But at the end of that time he began to desire to marry again, and to look about him for a suitable wife. This was not difficult to find, for he had a fine house with stable swift horses, besides being a good man who gave much to the poor. Of all the women he saw, however, the one who, to his mind, suited him best of all, was a widow of about his own age with 2 daughters of her own. And she, he thought, besides being a good housekeeper, would be a kind foster mother to his little Vasilisa. So the merchant married the widow and brought her home as his wife, but the little girl soon found that her foster mother was very far from being what her father had thought. She was a cold, cruel woman, who had desired the merchant for the sake of his wealth, and had no love for his daughter. Vasilisa was the greatest beauty in the whole village, while the daughters of the foster mother were as spare and homely as 2 crows, which is rude because crows are very cute. And because of this, all three envied and hated Vasilisa. They gave her all sorts of errands to run and difficult tasks to perform, in order that the toil might make her thin and worn, and that her face might grow brown from sun and wind. And they treated her so cruelly as to leave few joys in life for her. But little Vasilisa endured all this without complaint. And while the stepmother's 2 daughters grew always thinner and uglier in spite of the fact that they had no hard tasks to do, never went out in cold or rain, and sat always with their arms folded like ladies of a court, she herself had cheeks like blood and milk and grew every day more and more beautiful. Now the reason for this was the tiny doll, without whose help little Vasilisa could never have managed to do all the work that was laid upon her. Each night, when everyone else was sound asleep, she would get up from bed, take the doll into a closet, and locking the door, give it something to eat and drink, and say, "There, my little doll, take it, eat a little, drink a little, and listen to my grief. I live in my father's house, but my spiteful stepmother wishes to drive me out of the white world. Tell me, how shall I act? What shall I do?" Then the little doll's eyes would begin to shine like glowworms, and it would become alive. It would eat a little food and sip a little drink, and then it would comfort her and tell her how to act. While Vasilisa slept, it would get ready all her work for the next day, so that she had only to rest in the shade and gather flowers, for the doll would have the kitchen garden weeded, and the beds of cabbage watered, and plenty of fresh water brought from the well, and the stoves heated exactly right. And besides this, the little doll told her how to make, from a certain herb, an ointment which prevented her from ever being sunburnt. So all the joy in life that came to Vasilisa came to her through the tiny doll that she always carried in her pocket. Years passed till Vasilisa grew up and became of an age where it is good to marry. All the young men in the village, high and low, rich and poor, asked for her hand, while not one of them stopped even to look at the stepmother's 2 daughters, so ill-favored were they. This angered their mother still more against Vasilisa. She answered every gallant who came with the same words, "Never shall the younger be wed before the older ones." And each time, when she let a suitor out of the door, she would soothe her anger and hatred by beating her stepdaughter. So while Vasilisa grew each day more lovely and graceful, she was often miserable, and but for the little doll in her pocket, would have longed to leave the white world. Now there came a time when it became necessary for the merchant to leave his home and travel to a distant tsardom. He bade farewell to his wife and her 2 daughters, kissed Vasilisa, and gave her his blessing and departed, bidding them say a prayer each day for his safe return. Scarce was he out of sight of the village, however, when his wife sold his house, packed all his goods, and moved with them to another dwelling far from the town, in a gloomy neighborhood on the edge of a wild forest. Here, every day, while her 2 daughters were working indoors, the merchant's wife would send Vasilisa on one errand or another into the forest, either to find a branch of a certain rare bush or to bring her flowers or berries. Now deep in this forest, as the stepmother well knew, there was a green lawn, and on the lawn stood a little hut on hen's legs, where lived a certain Baba Yaga, an old witch grandmother. She lived alone, and none dared go near the hut, for she ate people as one eats chickens. The merchant's wife sent Vasilisa into the forest each day, hoping she might meet the old witch and be devoured. But always the girl came home safe and sound, because the little doll showed her where the bush, the flowers, and the berries grew, and did not let her go near the hut that stood on hen's legs. And each time the stepmother hated her more and more because she came to no harm. This is one of the gorgeous illustrations. Can you see it? Yes, you can. It's beautiful. Look at it. One autumn evening, the merchant's wife called the three girls to her and gave them each a task. One of her daughters she bade make a piece of lace, the other to knit a pair of hose, and to Vasilisa she gave a basket of flax to be spun. She bade each finish a certain amount. Then she put out all the fires in the house, leaving only a single candle lighted in the room where the three girls worked, and she herself went to sleep. They worked an hour, they worked 2 hours, they worked 3 hours. When one of the eldest daughters took up the tongs to straighten the wick of the candle, she pretended to do this awkwardly, as her mother had bidden her, and put the candle out as if by accident. "What are we to do now?" asked her sister. "The fires are all out, there is no other light in the house, and our tasks are not done." "We must go and fetch fire," said the first. "The only house near is a hut in the forest where Baba Yaga lives. One of us must go and borrow fire from her." "I have enough light from my steel pins," said the one who was making the lace, "and I will not go." "And I have plenty of light from my silver needles," said the other who was knitting the hose, "and I will not go." "Thou, Vasilisa," they both said, "shalt go and fetch the fire, for thou hast neither steel pins nor silver needles, and cannot see to spin thy flax." They both rose up. Pushed Vasilisa out of the house, and locked the door, crying, "Thou shalt not come in till thou hast fetched the fire." Vasilisa sat down on the doorstep, took the tiny doll from one pocket, and from another the supper she had ready for it, put the food before it, and said, "There, my little doll, take it. Eat a little and listen to my sorrow. I must go to the hut of the old Baba Yaga in the dark forest to borrow some fire, and I fear she will eat me. Tell me, what shall I do?" Then the doll's eyes began to shine like two stars, and it became alive. It ate a little, and said, "Do not fear, little Vasilisa. Go where thou hast been sent. While I am with thee, no harm shall come to thee from the old witch." So Vasilisa put the doll back into her pocket, crossed herself, and started out into the dark wild forest. Whether she walked a short way or a long way, the telling is easy, but the journey was hard. The wood was very dark, and she could not help trembling from fear. Suddenly she heard the sound of a horse's hoofs, and a man on horseback galloped past her. He was dressed all in white, the horse under him was milk white, and the harness was white, and just as he passed her, it became twilight. She went a little further, and again she heard the sound of horses' hoofs, and there came another man on horseback galloping past her. He was dressed all in red, and the horse under him was blood red, and just as he passed her, the sun rose. See it? Yes. Pretty. That whole day Vasilisa walked, for she had lost her way. She could find no path at all in the dark wood, and she had no food to set before the little doll to make it alive. But at evening she came all at once to the green lawn where the wretched little hut stood on its hen's legs. The wall around the hut was made of human bones, and on its top were skulls. There was a gate in the wall, whose hinges were the bones of human feet, and whose locks were jaw bones set with sharp teeth. The sight filled Vasilisa with horror, and she stopped as still as a post buried in the ground. As she stood there, a third man on horseback came galloping up. His face was black, he was dressed all in black, and the horse he rode was coal black. He galloped up to the gate of the hut and disappeared there as if he had sunk in through the ground. At that moment the night came, and the forest grew dark. But it was not dark on the green lawn, for instantly the eyes of all the skulls on the wall were lighted and shone till the place was as bright as day. Seeing this, Vasilisa trembled with fear, so that she could not run away. Then suddenly the wood became full of a terrible noise. The trees began to groan, the branches to creak, and the dry leaves to rustle, and the Baba Yaga came flying from the forest. She was riding in a great iron mortar and driving it with a pestle, and she swept away the trail behind her with a kitchen broom. She rode up to the gate and stopping said, little hut, stand the way thy mother placed thee. Turn thy back to the forest, and thy face to me. And the little hut turned, facing her, and stood still. Then, smelling all around her, she cried, Foo, foo, I smell that is Russian. Who is here? Vasilisa, in great fright, came nearer to the old woman, and bowing very low, said, It is only Vasilisa, grandmother. My stepmother's daughters sent me to thee to borrow some fire. Well, said the old witch, I know them. But if I give thee fire, thou shalt stay with me some time and do some work to pay for it. If not, thou shalt be eaten for my supper. Then she turned to the gate and shouted, Ho, yeed my solid locks, unlock, thou my stout gate, open. Instantly the locks unlocked, the gate opened of itself, and the Baba Yaga rode in whistling. Vasilisa entered behind her, and immediately the gate shut again, and the lock snapped tight. When they had entered the hut, the old witch threw herself down on the stove, stretched out her bony legs, and said, Come, fetch, and put on the table at once everything that is in the oven. I am hungry. So Vasilisa ran, and lighted a splinter of wood from one of the skulls on the wall, and took the food from the oven and set it before her. There was enough cooked meat for 3 strong men. She brought also from the cellar kvass, honey, beer, and wine. And when the Baba Yaga ate and drank the whole, leaving the girl only a little of cabbage soup, a crust of bread, and a morsel of suckling pig. When her hunger was satisfied, the old witch, growing drowsy, lay down on the stove and said, Listen to me well and do what I bid thee. Tomorrow when I drive away, do thou clean the yard, sweep the floors, and cook my supper. Then take a quarter of a measure of wheat from my storehouse, and pick out of it all the black grains and the wild peas. Mind thou dost all that I bade thee, if not, thou shalt be eaten for my supper. Presently the Baba Yaga turned towards the wall and began to snore, and Vasilisa knew that she was fast asleep. Then she went into the corner, took the tiny doll from her pocket, put before it a bit of bread and a little cabbage soup that she had saved, burst into tears, and said, There, my little doll, take it, eat a little, drink a little, and listen to my grief. Here I am in the house of the old witch, and the gate in the wall is locked, and I am afraid. She has given me a difficult task, and if I do not do all she has bade, she will eat me tomorrow. Tell me, what shall I do? Then the eyes of the little doll began to shine like 2 candles. It ate a little bit of the bread and drank a little bit of the soup, and said, Don't be afraid, Vasilisa the beautiful. Be comforted. Say thy prayers and go to sleep. The morning is wiser than the evening. So Vasilisa trusted the little doll and was comforted. She said her prayers, lay down on the floor, and went fast asleep. When she woke next morning, very early, it was still dark. She rose and looked out of the window, and saw that the eyes of the skulls on the wall were growing dim. As she looked, the man dressed all in white, riding the milk-white horse, galloped swiftly around the corner of the hut, leaped the wall, and disappeared. And as he went, it became quite light, and the eyes of the skulls flickered and went out. The old witch was in the kitchen. Now she began to whistle, and the great iron mortar and pestle and the kitchen broom flew out of the hut to her. As she got into the mortar, the man dressed all in red, mounted on the blood-red horse, galloped like the wind around the corner of the hut, leaped the wall, and was gone. And at that moment the sun rose. Then the Baba Yaga shouted, Ho, yeed my solid locks, unlock, thou my stout gate, open. The locks unlocked, and the gate opened, and she rode away in the mortar, driving with the pestle and sweeping away the trail behind her with the broom. When Vasilisa found herself left alone, she examined the hut, wondering to find it filled with such an abundance of everything. Then she stood still, remembering all the work that she had been bidden to do, and wondering what to begin first. But as she looked, she rubbed her eyes. The yard was already neatly cleaned, and the floors were nicely swept, and the little doll was sitting in the storehouse, picking the last black grains and wild peas out of the quarter measure of wheat. Vasilisa ran and took the little doll in her arms. My dearest doll, she cried, thou hast saved me from my trouble. Now I have only to cook the Baba Yaga's supper, since all the rest of the tasks are done. Cook it with God's help, said the doll, and then rest, and may the cooking of it make you healthy. And so saying, it crept into her pocket and became again only a little wooden doll. You had a Baba Yaga picture this time. Ooh. So Vasilisa rested all day and was refreshed. And when it grew toward evening, she laid the table for the old witch's supper and sat looking out of the window, waiting for her coming. After a while, she heard the sound of horses' hoofs, and the man in black on the coal-black horse galloped up to the wall gate and disappeared like a great dark shadow. and instantly it became quite dark, and the eyes of all the skulls began to glitter and shine. Then all at once the trees of the forest began to creak and groan, and the leaves and the bushes to moan and sigh, and the Baba Yaga came riding out of the dark wood in the huge iron mortar, driving with the pestle and sweeping out the trail behind her with the kitchen broom. Vasilisa let her in, and the witch, smelling all around her, asked, "Well, hast thou done perfectly all the tasks I gave thee to do, or am I to eat thee for my supper?" "Be so good as to look for thyself, grandmother," answered Vasilisa. The Baba Yaga went all about the place, tapping with her iron pestle and carefully examining everything. But so well had the little doll done its work that, try as hard as she might, the old witch could not find anything to complain of. There was not a weed left in the yard, nor a speck of dust on the floor, nor a single black grain or wild pea in the wheat. She was greatly angered, but was obliged to pretend to be pleased. "Well," she said, "thou hast done all well." Then, clapping her hands, she shouted, "Ho, my faithful servants, friends of my heart, haste and grind my wheat." Immediately 3 pairs of hands appeared, seized the measure of wheat, and carried it away. The Baba Yaga sat down to supper, and Vasilisa put before her all the food from the oven, with kvass, honey, beer, and wine. The old witch ate it, bones and all, almost down to the last morsel, enough for 4 strong men, and then, growing drowsy, stretched her bony legs on the stove and said, Tomorrow do as thou hast done today, and besides these tasks, take from my storehouse a half measure of poppy seeds and clean them one by one. Someone has mixed earth with them to do me a mischief and to anger me, and I will have them made perfectly clean." So saying, she turned to the wall and soon began to snore. When she was fast asleep, Vasilisa went into the corner, took the little doll from her pocket, set before it a part of the food that was left, and asked its advice. And the doll, when it had become alive and eaten a little food and sipped a little drink, said, "Don't worry, beautiful Vasilisa, be comforted. Do as thou didst last night, say thy prayers and go to sleep." So Vasilisa was comforted. She said her prayers and went to sleep, and did not wake till morning, when she heard the old witch in the yard. Whistling. She ran to the window just in time to see her take her place in the big iron mortar, and as she did so, the man dressed all in red, riding on the blood-red horse, leaped over the wall and was gone, just as the sun rose over the wild forest. As it had happened on the first morning, so it happened now. When Vasilisa looked, she found that the little doll had finished all the tasks except the cooking of the supper. The yard was swept in order, the floors were as clean as new wood, and there was not a grain of earth left in the half measure of poppy seeds. She rested and refreshed herself till the afternoon, when she cooked the supper, and when evening came, she laid the table and sat down to wait for the old witch's coming. Soon the man in black on the coal-black horse galloped up to the gate, and the dark fell, and the eyes of the skulls began to shine like day. Then the ground began to quake, and the trees of the forest began to creak, and the dry leaves to rustle, and the Baba Yaga came riding in her iron mortar, driving with her pestle, and sweeping away her trail with her broom. When she came in, she smelled all around her, and went all about the hut, tapping with the pestle. But pry and examine as she might, again she could see no reason to find fault, and was angrier than ever. She clapped her hands and shouted, "Ho, my trusty servants, friends of my soul, haste and press the oil out of my poppy seeds." And instantly the 3 pairs of hands appeared, seized the measure of poppy seeds, and carried it away. Presently the old witch sat down to supper, and Vasilisa brought her all she had cooked, enough for 5 grown men, and set it before her, and brought beer and honey, and then she herself stood silently waiting. The Baba Yaga ate and drank it all, every morsel, leaving not so much as a crumb of the bread. Then she said snappishly, "Well, why dost thou say nothing, but stand there as if thou wast dumb?" "I spoke not," Vasilisa answered, "because I dared not. But if thou wilt allow me, grandmother, I wish to ask thee some questions." "Well," said the old witch, "only remember that every question does not lead to good. If thou knowest overmuch, thou wilt grow old too soon. What wilt thou ask?" "I would ask thee," said Vasilisa, "of the men on horseback. When I came to thy hut, a rider passed me. He was dressed all in white, and he rode a milk-white horse. Who was he?" "That was my white bright day," answered the Baba Yaga angrily. "He is a servant of mine, but he cannot hurt thee. Ask me more." "Afterwards," said Vasilisa, "a second rider overtook me. He was dressed in red, and the horse he rode was blood red. Who was he?" That was my servant, the round red sun, answered the Baba Yaga, and he too cannot injure thee. And she ground her teeth. Ask me more. A third rider, said Vasilisa, came galloping up to the gate. He was black, his clothes were black, and the horse was coal black. Who was he? That was my servant, the Black Dark Knight, answered the old witch furiously, but he also cannot harm thee. Ask me more. But Vasilisa, remembering what the Baba Yaga had said, that not every question led to good, was silent. Ask me more, cried the old witch. Why dost thou not ask me more? Ask me of the 3 pairs of hands that serve me. But Vasilisa saw how she snarled at her, and she answered, The 3 questions are enough for me. As thou hast said, grandmother, I would not, through knowing overmuch, become too soon old. It is well for thee, said Baba Yaga, that thou didst not ask of them, but only of what thou didst see outside of this hut. Hadst thou asked of them, my servants, the 3 pairs of hands, would have seized thee also, as they did the wheat and poppy seeds, to be my food. Now I would ask a question in my turn. How is it that thou hast been able in a little time to do perfectly all the tasks I gave thee? Tell me. Vasilisa was so frightened to see how the old witch ground her teeth that she almost told her of the little doll. But she bethought herself just in time and answered, The blessing of my dead mother helps me. Then the Baba Yaga sprang up in a fury. Get thee out of my house this moment, she shrieked. I want no one who bears a blessing to cross my threshold. Get thee gone. Vasilisa ran to the yard, and behind her she heard the old witch shouting to the locks and the gate. The locks opened, the gate swung wide, and she ran out onto the lawn. The Baba Yaga seized from the wall one of the skulls with burning eyes and flung it after her. There, she howled, is the fire for thy stepmother's daughters. Take it, that is what they sent thee here for, and may they have joy of it. Vasilisa put the skull on the end of a stick and darted away through the forest, running as fast as she could, finding her path by the skull's glowing eyes, which went out only when morning came. Whether she ran a long way or a short way, and whether the road was smooth or rough, towards evening of the next day, when the eyes in the skull were beginning to glimmer, she came out of the dark wild forest to her stepmother's house. When she came near to the gate, she thought, Surely by this time they will have found some fire, and threw the skull into the hedge. But it spoke to her, and said, Do not throw me away, beautiful Vasilisa. Bring me to thy stepmother. Also, very, very pretty illustration of Vasilisa the Beautiful. So, looking at the house and seeing no spark of light in any of the windows, she took up the skull again and carried it with her. Now, since Vasilisa had gone, the stepmother and her 2 daughters had had neither fire nor light in all the house. When they struck flint and steel, the tinder would not catch, and the fire they brought from the neighbors would go out immediately as soon as they carried it over the threshold, so that they had been enabled to light or warm themselves or to cook food to eat. Therefore, now for the first time in her life, Vasilisa found herself welcomed. They opened the door to her, and the merchant's wife was greatly rejoiced to find that the light in the skull did not go out as soon as it was brought in. Maybe the witch's fire will stay, she said, took the skull into the best room, set it on a candlestick, and called her 2 daughters to admire it. But the eyes of the skull suddenly began to glimmer and to glow like red coals, and wherever the 3 turned or ran, the eyes followed them, growing larger and brighter, till they flamed like 2 furnaces, and hotter, till the merchant's wife and her 2 wicked daughters took fire and were burned to ashes. Only Vasilisa the Beautiful was not touched. In the morning, Vasilisa dug a hole in the ground and buried the skull. Then she locked the house and set out to the village, where she went to live with an old woman who was poor and childless, and so she remained for many days, waiting for her father's return from the far distant kingdom. But sitting lonely, time soon began to hang heavy on her hands. One day she said to the old woman, It is dull for me, grandmother, to sit idly hour by hour. My hands want work to do. Go therefore and buy me some flax, the best and finest to be found anywhere, and at least I can spin. The old woman hastened and bought some flax of the best sort, and Vasilisa sat down to work. So well did she spin that the thread came out as even and fine as a hair, and presently there was enough to begin to weave. But so fine was the thread that no frame could be found to weave it upon, nor would any weaver undertake to make one. Then Vasilisa went to her closet, took the little doll from her pocket, set food and drink before it, and asked it for its help. And after it had eaten a little and drunk a little, the doll became alive and said, Bring me an old frame and an old basket and some hairs from a horse's mane. and I will arrange everything for thee." Vasilisa hastened to fetch all the doll had asked for, and when evening came, she said her prayers, went to sleep, and in the morning she found a ready frame perfectly made to weave her fine thread upon. She wove 1 month, she wove 2 months. All the winter Vasilisa sat weaving her fine thread, till the whole piece of linen was done, of a texture so fine that it could be passed like thread through the eye of a needle. When the spring came, she bleached it so white that no snow could be compared to it. Then she said to the old woman, "Take thou the linen to the market, grandmother, and sell it, and the money shall suffice to pay for my food and lodging." When the old woman had examined the linen, however, she said, "Never will I sell such cloth in the marketplace, and no one should wear it except the Tsar himself, and tomorrow I shall carry it to the palace." Illustration. Next day, accordingly, the old woman went to the Tsar's splendid palace and fell to walking up and down before the windows. The servants came to ask her errand, but she answered them nothing and kept walking up and down. At length the Tsar opened his window and asked, "What dost thou want, old woman, that thou walkest here?" "O Tsar's Majesty," the old woman answered, "I have with me a marvelous piece of linen stuff, so wonderfully woven that I will show it to none but thee." The Tsar bade them bring her before him, and when he saw the linen, he was struck with astonishment at its fineness and beauty. "What wilt thou take for it, old woman?" he asked. "There is no price that can buy it, our father Tsar," she answered, "but I have brought it to thee as a gift." The Tsar could not thank the old woman enough. He took the linen and sent her to her house with many rich presents. Seamstresses were called to make shirts for him out of the cloth, but when it had been cut up, so fine was it that none of them was deft and skillful enough to sew it. The best seamstresses in all the Tsardom were summoned, but none dared undertake it. So at last the Tsar sent for the old woman and said, "If thou didst know how to spin such thread and weave such linen, thou must also know how to sew me shirts from it." And the old woman answered, "O Tsar's Majesty, it was not I who wove the linen, it is the work of my adopted daughter." "Take it then," the Tsar said, "and bid her do it for me." The old woman brought the linen home and told Vasilisa the Tsar's demands. "Well, I knew that the work would needs be done by my own hand," said Vasilisa, and locking herself in her own room, began to make the shirts. So fast and well did she work that soon a dozen were ready. Then the old woman carried them to the Tsar, while Vasilisa washed her face, dressed her hair, put on her best gown, and sat down at the window to see what would happen. And presently a servant in the livery of the palace came to the house and said, "The Tsar, our lord, desires himself to see the clever needlewoman who has made his shirts, and to reward her with his own hands." Vasilisa rose and went at once to the palace, and as soon as the Tsar saw her, he fell in love with her with all his soul. He took her by her white hand and made her sit beside him. "Beautiful maiden," he said, "never will I part from thee, and thou shalt be my wife." So the Tsar and Vasilisa the Beautiful were married, and her father returned from the far distant kingdom, and he and the old woman lived always with her in the splendid palace in all joy and contentment. And as for the little wooden doll, Vasilisa carried it about with her in her pocket all her life long. So there's the really metal Russian version of Cinderella. I hope you guys liked it. I've been Spooky Pie. Please check out the Horror Diner. Back to you, Tony.
Thanks, Spooky Pie. Truly incredible. First time I'd heard the full telling of that tale, even though uh, the main antagonist Baba Yaga features prominently in a lot of media. Myself and my friends enjoy. Um, let's see here. Such a prince. Oh, spoilers coming up. I'm such a Spooky Pie fan. Same. Not as big as you though. I want to marry her. Oh wait, I am married to her. Well, if you love her so much, why? You already said it, yeah. Baba Yaga, Wall of Skulls, Skull Lights is metal as fuck. I'm surprised I haven't seen that yet somewhere on social media. You'd think. Um, Second Pumpkin, where? This one's bad enough. And I'm going to talk about what's going on here in a moment. Don't get ahead of me. Skulls, yay, yay. Eastern Europe must have been a brutal place to grow up. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, so to catch up on what the F is going on, y'all may have noticed the pile happening because I don't fuck around. when it comes to the pristineness of my gourd gizzard. Um, yeah, I made sure that sucker was well, properly hollowed out. A hollow knight, if you will. Uh, Hit me up for some incredible bathroom stall graffiti I found. Hollow Knight. Recently. Anyway, so yeah, I got that all hollowed out because yeah, you really want those walls to be at least where you're going to carve nice and thin. Again, so you can get in and out of there super easy. Um, and then other pro strats, you find out where your face is going to be, and you apply your stencil to where you're going to put it. Little tape, hit the edges so it conforms to the gorb. And then I was using this little guy, this little stabby, to mark the trail where I'm going to go. You know, some of you may know the Sharpie trick or the pen trick or even the pencil where you just sketch out your design and then cut outside of those lines. Same idea. This pattern, however, has shading areas, and so for those, I've given myself extra stabs to make sure I know where those sections are going to be, where I'm just going to remove the outer dermis, but leave the fleshy lower layers behind, as well as full cuts where the light will blast through full on. You know, the Connecticut Field Butcher would be a great title because that's the cultivar of carving pumpkin. Fun fact, thank you, Paint Guy. JC and I also recently heard the story of the Halloween tree, or at least we were told about it. We haven't like watched it or read it, but apparently there's a thing called a Halloween tree where little jack-o'-lanterns hang from the boughs, and each one's like a soul waiting for something or something like that. Go check it out. It seemed pretty cool. So yeah, I'm finishing up doing some stabby stab on my patterns because I can't just be normal. I can't just do a regular thing. This is going to be a special dual... there's a special effect I learned about last year. If you know me in carving pumpkins, you might have seen it briefly, because it was carved like the day before Halloween, and then we join you, at least today, on a crispy, low 80-degree day. So this bad boy isn't going to last long out there in the direct sunlight on the front porch. So we're going to enjoy it while we can. I'm doing 2 sections on this one. We'll see if I can make the effect work at the end of the night to show it off. If not, go join us on our Discord. Go check out the Patreon. Hit us up on socials and see the finished result. This one's also a challenge for me as the pattern is a little smaller than I'm used to. So we'll see how my skills go, okay? I'm sure on this stream and back in previous posts you can see other examples of endeavors I've taken in gourd art. Yeah, well, this is why we do it live. This is what live theater is about. This is what telling these stories is about. Is, damn, did you see the stream where the guy tried to do a pattern that was too small for the detail it was supposed to? And you know what? It came out, I mean, you know, it was like a bad cosplay. You could tell what it was. It wasn't great, but you saw it and you went, nice. And then you went about your day. So that's my goal. That's what we're aiming for today. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to finish stabbing this out, and then we'll fire up our next story. I wanted to share. I did recommend. So when I asked my dear friends to do scary stories, I literally said, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and read a scary story to tell in the dark? I think that would be rad." You know, the old quote unquote children's books from the 80s and 90s that had truly horrifying art. Oh my goodness, my cat. I made a spot for my cat. Oh, one sec. Over here, where she could jump up and get in the box, but no, she decided to come up the other direction where there's a ton of stuff on the table and is now snooting around, and you're probably going to see her walk across this whole thing in just a moment, but that's okay. She's blessing the proceedings with her spooky presence. She is our black cat, Belladonna. If you want exclusive pictures of her and her brother, Basil Datura, join our Patreon at the I'd buy that for $1 tier, which is $1. You will get monthly exclusive cat pictures of her and her brother, of her and or her brother, that almost nobody else will see. We might send it to friends and family connected to the cat, or I might show it accidentally to someone because I can't keep track with all the cat photos I take, and you know how it goes. So yeah, join us on there. Give us a couple extra dollars for Baja Blasts and Taco Bell and pumpkins. I was super stressed this week about this, and work's been crazy. So, those few extra dollars, they'd really help me be like, hey guys, I'm going to take the day off. I got some personal stuff going on. No, I'm not moonlighting by being a weird esoteric niche streamer. What are you talking about? Why would you even say that? Are you one of my followers? Are you subscribed? So yeah, so I'm finished popping these, punching holes into these bad boys. I'm gonna pop off the guides, the templates. I'm then gonna re-scrape the walls where the patterns are gonna go to make sure I've got those thin walls. Even more so. So the pile is going to get larger. I was also going to chop off this bit here, like I said I was going to. The butt. But why? I can just set it down on top of the candle or the lamp or whatever, and it'll just sit proud, and we don't need a bottom. And if I do, yeah, it's pretty cavernous, so if we do a real candle, I shouldn't have to worry about a chimney too much because we're going to have lots of ventilation. So letting you know what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull off the template. Oh, okay, the cat decided to settle somewhere else, so you tried, that's what is important. Thank you, such a prince. You're always incredibly supportive. We love it. Bella, yeah, she didn't cross the threshold, which is weird. She's usually a much bigger brat. She's kind of staring at me now like it's my fault that she can't just come over here to the other side. Anyway, Pink Eye, mine is lying on my mouse hand right now because Chaos Gremlin. Yeah, well, she needs to make sure she knows where you are. Send me and JC pictures. Post pictures. You're in the Discord, I think. Or just add us. Let's get them pictures. So yeah, so I'm going to pull these off, scrapey scrape, and then once I'm done with the scrapey scrape, I'm going to get carving, and we'll see if we can crack this sucker out in the next hour and 9 minutes while we have story time from our friends. They're much shorter than the first one, so attention span ADD, we're good, but you're going to get more of me in between talking while I carve. So here we go. Next, not in the Discord actually, Pink Eye. Alright, well, at me later, I'll get you an invite because I guess I'll let you in the Discord. Alright, so next up, we're going to have one of the dear narrators, also part of the Horror Diner, but behind the scenes, you didn't hear it from me. Narrator Elisa, from the incredible podcast Once Upon a Rewatch. What are they rewatching? The Once Upon a Time series. Wait, is that what it's called? I forget. My brain just associates you guys with associates the podcast with the show. But remember, several years back, there was a like live action fairy tale series where it was all the like Grimm's fairy tale characters via Disney, but like real life and sort of like, but what if they actually existed and had interactions? Wild, wild. They watch the episode and they watch an episode and rehash their thoughts about it afterwards. And hilarity ensues because there's three of them and each one has their own unique angle and take and favorites and boos. So they're on a hiatus right now, but that means you have a chance to catch up. Go check out their backlog, listen to it. Excellent content. Once Upon a Rewatch. You can find them on Instagram as well as, I think, Blue Sky. So yeah, check that out. But here we go. Such a prince. It is. It's a trip of a show. Oh, thank you. Hey, that's what we do here. You came out and did stories for me. I'm going to hype up my friends who do incredible content. So here we go with Miss Elisa Face and her own story, her own reading of a classic tale. Here we go.
All right. Thank you so much, Tony. Hi, I'm narrator Elisa from the podcast Once Upon a Rewatch, and I'm going to be reading for you a tale from a world full of spooky stories. 50 tales to make your spine tingle. Woo! This book is super beautiful. It's just really, really, really cute. It's written by Angela McAllister, and the illustrations are by Madalena and Adronica, and the art is beautiful if you want to take a look. I think it's really lovely. My tale to you today is a retelling of the Tamlin story from Scotland. It always captured my imagination. I feel like an elementary school teacher reading this, and I love that for me. Alright, here we go. Few people dared to walk in Carterhall Wood for fear of an elven knight named Tamlin, who would take whatever he wished from those he met. The earl who owned the woods lived in a castle nearby. When his daughter Janet grew up, he gave her Carterhall Woods as a gift. Janet was not afraid of anything. One day, she decided to pick flowers, and so into the woods she went. No sooner had she picked a wild rose than handsome Tamlin stepped out of the trees. "Who gave you permission to pick that rose?" he asked Janet. "I need no permission," answered Janet. "The wood belongs to me." Tamlin looked at her and smiled. "Then you must be Janet," he said, "with whom I played when I was young." Janet remembered a boy she had known long ago, a boy she had once loved, but who had mysteriously disappeared one day. "Where have you been, Tamlin?" she asked. "The Fairy Queen stole me away to live with her elves under the hill," he told her. "Now I guard Carterhall Wood as her knight, but I long to escape the fairy world and return home." "How can you be rescued?" Janet asked. "Tell me what can be done." Tamlin saw that she was still the brave girl he knew long ago, the brave girl he once loved. "Tomorrow night is Halloween," he told her. "The queen and her elves will ride out across the land. If you are not afraid to wait alone at the crossroads at midnight, you will see a company of knights on black steeds, followed by a company of knights on brown steeds. After that will come the Fairy Queen on a milk-white steed. I shall be riding at her side, with a star upon my crown." "What must I do to save you?" asked Janet. "You must pull me from my horse and hold me tight," said Tamlin, "for the queen will use powerful magic to take me from you. If I turn into a red-hot sword, you must plunge me into the river. Only then will her power be broken." Janet promised Tamlin with all her heart that she would be waiting at the crossroads to save him. That Halloween night, brave Janet made her way by the eerie light of the moon to the crossroads. She hid herself and waited. Suddenly, she heard bridles ring and hoofbeats thunder. Up rode a company of elven knights on black steeds, followed by another company on brown steeds. After them came the Fairy Queen herself, on a milk-white steed with a knight riding at her side. Janet saw the star upon his crown, and without thought of her own safety, leapt forward. She seized the bridle of his horse and pulled him out of his saddle into her arms. At once, the elves turned upon her. "Tam Lin's taken!" they cried. The Fairy Queen shrieked, and lightning flashed across the sky. Tam Lin turned into a lizard in Janet's arms, but she clutched him tight. The lizard turned into a withering snake, but she held him close. The snake turned into a dove that almost flew from her grasp. Then the dove turned into a red-hot sword. Janet ran to the river nearby and plunged it in. When the stream cleared, there lay Tam Lin, wearing his elven robes no more. Janet wrapped him in her cloak. The Fairy Queen scowled at Tam Lin. "I should have blinded your eyes and turned your heart to stone," she cried. And with that, the whole company galloped away. And that's it. It's a short little version of the tale, but I think this book is lovely, so you should check it out, and I hope you enjoyed the story. Back to you, Tony. Bye!
Hey again. As always, things. I just realized I'm missing a couple tools. Hey, babe,
Yeah?
could you go into the Halloween box and find the small tools?
The small tools.
I've got. Yeah, they're probably in a Ziploc with the 3 books of patterns we have that we don't use. Welcome back. Thank you, Miss Elisa Face, for that riveting telling of Tam Lin. I wrote it down. Nope, I have you as narrator. Wait, did I write the name? Did I put the name? Maybe. Well, they said it. Let's see here. Oh no, I named the file. Okay, yeah. I don't have the file in front of me. But yeah, so go check them out. The Narrators 3. And I'm going to see if I can work on a big section while JC rummages around in our Halloween supplies. Because you better believe it's mostly empty boxes right now. I set up our spooky shrub earlier last month. Ah, yes, delightful. Okay, so yeah. Thank you. Aha! Implements of destruction.
Did not know you had a guest.
Oh yeah, I talked about how I talked about how I set up a path for Bella to sit over here.
Oh, yeah.
And instead she managed to make the jump up into that box and then wandered over here and was like, that looks like a lot, and then walked away. So let me go with this guy. Okay. So we've got a couple things going on here. Let's see, can you see? Here we go. We're cutting. Tam Lin, thank you. All right. Now, of course, with these tools, obviously, you're doing a sawing motion. But you also want to go at an angle depending on where you want your light to move. And typically, if you've ever seen archery slits in a castle, they are wider on the inside and narrow at the outside, so that the archers would have a larger field of vision and more angle. My cat's trying to figure out how to jump off the table now that she jumped onto, much easier the first time, and precariously stepping along things. Do you need to get down? Are you okay? Okay, she's good. All right, there she. I don't know if you heard the oof as she landed. So the exterior of the window is a little bitty window, little bitty line. But if you're staring at it from the inside, it's a much wider viewpoint, sort of a wedge into the line that you look at, which allows you a farther range of view depending on what angle you're at, with having less exposure. Similarly, you can do that with light. If you make your cuts at an angle, cutting at an angle into the pumpkin, outward from the cut, you can get more light to push through the whole of the pumpkin, making it stand out more prominently. And so we'll be doing that quite a bit this evening, as there are a lot of points in this pumpkin that I'm going to be doing little bitty holes that are going to want a lot of light. Also, it helps when pulling out pieces because there will be bigger pumpkin knowledge. Yeah. So as you can see here, it's kind of you can see through the pumpkin already down here, but it's not so great up here at the more narrow end. So yeah, you just carve that sucker out. And this I'll probably be doing more touch up like this later on. This is also, oh yeah, no, I want a bigger one for that. There we go. Once you got the full cut going, you can just kind of go crazy in there. Well, don't go crazy in there, but you know, you can definitely get more aggressive with some of the tools, as long as you're nice and careful. Because yeah, this top swoop here, oh man, yeah, it's going to want a lot of light. So that it, oh. Yeah, kind of fucked up my clean point there, but as you can see, much better light coming through there. So yeah, so we're gonna keep going. This has a couple little accent buddies that we're going to be doing a similar thing with. Yeah. And so basically you can retrace the same cut you did to take out that piece. You just angle your blade away into the pumpkin, to remove more volume behind where the cut was. And let me see if I can get a good angle. You'll see it later. But yeah, you get more light to come through it, and it'll look cooler when it's all lit up. And it would help if I'm cutting with the blade. And for anyone wondering, don't worry, we're not done with story time. We have one more friend, very good friend from Phantom Cinema, a small cinematography group here in the Bay Area. Small but mighty. We've been to one of their spooky events where they did a showing of, what was it? I think it was Poltergeist? We even have a signed poster from the head director and executive director of Phantom Cinema, because he was there. He was helping run it. It was very cool. You know, it was one of those things where basically they rented out a theater screen, and we had a little lunch brunch because it was attached to a theater with a restaurant. It had spooky drinks. I think is there like a costume contest or something? I forget. It was a couple years back. And yeah, it was a hoot. It was fun. You know, friends of the stream know that I like spooky, I like macabre, but I don't do horror. Proper horror, I'm a little like, no thank you. But you know, they're our friends. We want to support them. And JC loves horror proper. And they wanted to go, so I was like, well, yeah, of course we gotta go. Alright. Someone had opinions outside. Okay. Alright, now here comes the fun part, because it's hard to read where where all my dots are compared to what I'm chopping out. Okay, so there's a swoop there and a swoop there. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It'll be fine. Yeah. Well, you know what? I was thinking about it, and I didn't set it up, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to tell a story. Because earlier, I was talking about how when I was asking my lovely friends to contribute to this fun little evening, I was like, hey, you could even read a scary story from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which was a classic book that many of us millennials remember being way freakier than it had any right to be, thanks to the illustrations. Had a very sketchy, grimy, demented kind of flavor to them. Go look them up. Go check them out. It's really wild. And a few of those stories live rent-free in many brains because of how good they were. Surprisingly, spoilers, none of my friends this evening chose to tell one of the stories, which is great. I love the variety that we got this evening. We actually have a really fun one coming up here from that friend from Phantom Cinema. Can't recommend it enough. But I think the one that I was thinking of telling, Sometimes I still have nightmares about losing my toe. Yeah, right? There was even a movie. There was even a movie made of it. Made of a few of the stories. And it was whatever. It was fine. Lukewarm reception. It's got like 76 on Rotten Tomatoes. Something like that. Which is like meh. It's like, great, you made a movie. Oh man, this one's yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, I think the story I would tell is The Viper. A woman who lives all alone on the top story of an apartment building. One night gets a call on her phone from a number she doesn't recognize. And in these days, you didn't have caller ID. Some people didn't have voicemail. You had what was called an answering machine. Some people didn't have that. So you just had to pick up the phone like a psychopath and hope it wasn't someone trying to sell you something. But she picks up the phone and she goes, hello? And she hears, I am the Viper and I'm coming up. She hangs up the phone. The Viper? It's horrifying. Maybe it was a prank. It was fine. Several minutes later, the phone rings again. The phone rings. People call each other. There was no internet. You called each other. That's how you made do. That's how you pass the time. Or reading. Picks up the phone and goes, hello, again? And that same voice comes over the phone. I'm the Viper. I'm on the 3rd floor. I'll be there shortly. And she hangs up the phone. That's too weird. It's too scary now. So she calls the police. Sorry. I'm trying not to lose my place here. Box. Thing. Gap. Oh boy. Oh no. Okay, so I did that and I did that. And there's like a blank area. Stabby stabby. That looks like air. Okay, alright. She calls the police. Says, please, there's a man. He's coming up to my apartment. I don't know what he's going to do. So she hangs up the phone with the police, waiting for them to come. And the phone rings again. She goes, police? And the voice again. I'm the Viper. I'm halfway up. And she slams the phone down. And she's waiting nervously. Just as I'm nervously chopping away at this thing, hoping I don't chop the wrong spot. Okay, where's the top? Okay, yeah, got it. And then finally, there's a knock at the door. Oh, thank goodness. Must be the police. And she opens the door, and there, standing there, is not the police. It's a little old man with a bucket and a rag and a squeegee, and he goes, hello, I'm the Viper. I've come to wipe and wash your windows. The movie kind of sucked in comparison to the books. Obviously, I can still live with 9. You can still live with 9 fingers. Oh my god! I just remember the punchline to the story. Classic. Core childhood memory unlocked. Fantastic. Yeah. No. Yeah. As mentioned on a previous stream, there are some absolute goofballs in the chat right now, and that kind of horrible humor is exactly what they're into, degenerates. But I guess maybe that's probably why we're friends. So yeah, or in some cases related. So yeah. So there you go. If you want to see the art for the Viper, go check that out. It's all up on like Wikipedia or the fan wiki. And on the one hand, I'm like, yo, go buy the book. But on the other, it was nice that I could like go look, get a refresher, and be like, ha, nice, nice. Might buy the books. Felt spooky. Might fuck around, buy the books later. Okay. Let's see here. All right, I don't think I'm gonna finish tonight. I don't think I'm gonna finish on stream. I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna keep at it. Don't you worry. But I'm looking at the time, and I haven't even started the back yet. The back should be much faster, but this has a lot of detail work that I'm trying to be careful about. So it's taken a second. Yeah. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me while we do that, listening to the fun stories, and I will fire up the next one here in a few minutes. So that if anyone needs to bail early, because it is a school night for some of us, for many of us, those of you who wish to remain can just do cozy stream situation while I labor away on this prodigious pumpkin, on this glamorous gourd, on this jam and jack. Let me get a little further up here so you can see the action. Okay, so okay, so there's like a swoop. There's a lot of swoops in this guy. No, the swoop's down here. Where's the swoop? Tack. There's a swoop and an L block. A lot of this pausing is just trying to figure out where I am and not cut the wrong thing. Is that? That must be it. Well, that seems like a little large. If I could just find the triangle. Okay, so that is about that big. Okay, yeah. Just start up there. We'll do it live. All right. That feels like a puncture. I believe in the heart of the cards. Okay, yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I thought I was clever and was doing meticulous linear punches for the sections I needed to cut out, and then more erratic, inconsistent punches for where I was going to carve out. And I just realized I think I goofed a little bit, because I probably should shave. I should probably chop out before I carve, because otherwise there's just going to be nothing left of this thing. So where's Which tool do I want? Let's see. Scrapey scrapes. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. Are we there yet? Okay. Well, all right. 8 minutes and we'll start up the next story. Okay. Getting that good scratchy scratch? Oh yeah. No. That's too much. I was like, we're gonna go big. No, that's not there. Oh, all up in the case. Uh-oh. Woo! Okay, it does continue up. Okay. Are those connected? No, no, they're not connected. Okay. Yeah, I need to keep going on this section, otherwise it's going to get out of hand. Got a jowl. Okay, cool. Yeah, it goes all the way up. All right, great. Oh no! I just realized what I did. I erased the tracks. Oh no, I'm gonna have to freehand this thing. Oh, okay. Alright, well, now I know. That's fine. That's fine. This is fine. This is fine. It's okay. It's just a little piece. It's just a little bitty piece. Got an ad break. Oh, we're in an ad break. We're coming back out of it here in a second. Nope. What do I want? What do I want? Yeah, maybe. Nope. Welcome back from the ads. I just realized I goofed. When you chop out the top layer in an attempt to make sure your other cut doesn't get mutilated while you're scraping, it's like leaving footsteps in the snow. It just removes all traces. But it's cool. This one's just a small little swoop so we can get through it. And in less than a minute, we're going to go check out our friends from Phantom Cinema anyway. So we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Yeah, this one's going to be a little more of an interpretive piece. But it's good. It's good. It's good. I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. I think it's got a lot of character. Woo! It's a lot of work. All right, let's go from the stabs, as that'll help me figure out where the line is. All right, 8:30. Thank you for hanging in there thus far. As you can see, we're making progress. We're doing some of the more fine stuff, but actually there's not that much. It's about the same amount. And then we've got the back. So I might run a little late to finish it up. But for anyone here for the stories, here comes our final one for the evening from our friends. This is Heather from Phantom Cinema reading a delightful tale. And here we go.
Hi, my name is Heather, and today I will be reading Vlad, the Fabulous Vampire by Flavia Z. Drago. Deep in the dark woods, in an ancient shadowy castle, there once lived a stylish vampire, Vladislav Varnaby Roland Dragul. the fourth of his name. For Vlad, fashion was his passion, and like all his vampire friends, he dressed only in black. Black was elegant. Black was fun. Black was mysterious. An all-time classic. But lurking beneath his black cape, Vlad kept a colorful secret. Vlad had rosy pink cheeks. They made him look different from everyone. So horribly alive. That's why Vlad was always hiding his pinkness behind the same old, boring outfit over and over again. He just wanted to look and feel like any other paranormal vampire. One night, Vlad tried to talk about his secret with his best friend. Shelley, do you think? What would you say if? Yes, go on. But he just couldn't find the words. How many stars do you think there are? Well, I guess there are some things we will never know. He worried his friends would stop liking him if they discovered who he really was. And then, inspiration struck. Vlad was going to design his very own clothes. He worked his fingers to the bone, and finally, he found a new way to cover his face while looking fabulous in black. After all, fashion was his passion. But sooner rather than later, Vlad had a new realization. Even with the most splendid black garments and sophisticated style, he would never be able to hide who he truly was. No one understands how I feel, he thought, and so Vlad decided that he'd be better off alone. As Vlad left his friends behind, he heard something strange. Shelley was in trouble. Keep your paws off my bat hat, you troll. And guess what? She had a secret of her own. Are you okay? Please don't tell anyone. Finally, Vlad decided to share what he hadn't been able to before. Do you still like me? Of course I do. And in return, Shelley decided to show him something else. Something no other vampire had seen before. Together, they went beyond the borders of the dark woods and adventured into the unknown. With Shelley by his side, Vlad felt a new kind of confidence. Slowly, he began to understand that in order to feel good about himself, he didn't have to change, and he didn't need to hide. Instead, he began to think, it's better to love what makes us unique. Back home, and with Shelley's help, Vlad was ready to show everyone his true self. It took a lot of courage, but as we know, fashion was his passion. Of course, there were lots of times when Vlad still felt insecure, but when he did, there was always someone he could count on. He felt safe and loved and free. And in the end, whether you can see it or not, you might just say there's a little bit of Vlad in all of us. I hope you enjoyed this book. Happy Halloween!
Hey, welcome back. So yes, the art is so cute. We may add that to our collection as well. For those of you who have joined us on winter holiday storytime streams, you know that we'll read any story. We don't care if it's for kids or not. Good stories are good stories, and that one is a great story. And you know we have dear friend. You may have noticed earlier in the stream we have some dear friends who are huge fans of Pink, and so that one's who are definitely spooky at heart. So that one's a delight. We love that. I've made some editorial choices while we were away, but it's all right. I'm not mad. Nobody's mad. Everyone's having a great time. Nobody's mad. So, I don't think I mentioned at the beginning what I'm actually carving or what won the vote. Online about what I would carve. A special shout out to my dear friend Kumuchi, who may be reading Storytime stories to his own little gremlin, who suggested hot dog as a option D for his wild card entry. And you know what? Joke's on you, Kimuchi. I had some ideas. But unfortunately it got outvoted by mythic creatures, mythic beasts. And so I don't know if any keen-eyed viewers have guessed what those beasts are yet. But it is a duo from a very formative part of some of our childhood. A shame I was looking forward to the glizzy pumpkin. Yeah, pink eye. I was gonna bust out the glizzy on the Gordzy. So they don't know who they're fucking with. Alright, so hole, scrape. More scrape. Okay. More scrape, and then we're done with this side. And then we can finish up the other portion, which actually should be much quicker because it does not have any shading for reasons, and is much smaller for reasons. And you know what? I'm not gonna say it, but I'm thinking it real loud about being almost done with this one. Yeah, it's just a big wedge. Just a big wedge, like in Star Wars. Shout out to Admiral Wedge Antilles of Rogue Squadron. God, I gotta read those books. I don't care that they're not canon anymore. In my heart, they are. Shout out to Mary Jade. My childhood boyfriend. Right? Good taste. That's why we hang out. Mine was Koran Horn because I read I, Jedi before reading any of the Rogue Squadron books, and became obsessed. That was the first big book I read in a day and a half. You know what? I think we're good. I think we're good on this side. I think I just gotta make sure there's clear channels for light to pop through on some of these thinner lines. But yeah, I think we'll call that side good. Okay. All right. Yo, there's pieces of pumpkin in this pumpkin. Get on it. Now, to not squish that side, where's my safe zone? Oh, sick. Right on it. Okay, great. Okay, so this one I should just be able to go ham. Oh, lines! It's like being in theater all over again. I heard you like pumpkins, so I put some pumpkin in your pumpkin. Yo, dog! Happy Halloween! Oh, this is so much easier than the other side, comparatively. Oh. You know, I watched a video about one of the minivans they had on that show recently, where someone found it. It had gone through like 2 other owners, and so they resurrected it and gave it to a friend who had just had a kid. They instead of pimping it out, they street racered it out, and then they tried to drive it across country, and that thing tried to die on them so many times. It was hilarious. Great video. Yeah. There's a weird universe where I got way more into cars than I already am, and I do something similar but gaming flavored with people's cars. Oh, no, don't. Try not to mess up this point. I need this line. I need this line to be immaculate. It's a little jagged, but it'll read. It'll read. It's fine. It's fine. He says as he continues to worry it. Don't feel too bad. Every brain surgeon starts somewhere. Huh. Come on down to Tony's Discount Brain Surgery. We'll carve open your gourd, see what's wrong, maybe put it back together. No guarantees. What do you want? It's Discount Brain Surgery. Ah, I lied. There was one more scary story. Alright. We'll come back to it. It's fine. I got one more small one. Alright, well, I got another small one right here. That will work our way down. Oh, that came out weird. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Oh yeah. Whoop. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. All right. And don't be afraid to stop and pull the blade out and then put it back in at a different angle. That helps you get cleaner corners. I'm editorializing this this design as I go. So you know, it's a Tony remix. Well, actually, this is thrice a Tony remix because this design's actually supposed to be a full size on its own, or like a hard. Tony's discount brain surgery is going to make it into my next campaign somehow. Oh, absolutely, it better. It better. You know, again, some of the keen-eyed of you may realize that this is saran wrap because this is my laptop, but the flicking pumpkin still got on the screen. I should have put saran wrap on the screen. Oh, well. Here we are. I have to wipe this thing down. Actually, here, I got another story for you. This one's kind of scary. I think it was, oh man, see, I was just talking to JC about this. There's a improv comedy troupe in Canada that a lot of like SNL people came from. I want, my brain keeps wanting to say it's Upright Citizens Brigade, but no. Actually, wait, no. This wasn't. It was, the actual show was called Kids in the Hall, if I remember correctly. I want to say Mike Myers, spooky people. Mike Myers was a member, and they had a bit where this guy would just make terrible decisions. It was very much a two-person scene, and the dude A would walk up and be like, "Hey man, check it out. I got this new hat," and his friend would be like, "Oh, that sure is a hat," and it'd be like this gross-looking hat. We're like, "Yeah, where'd you get it?" He's like, "I got it from this dude in an alley. $5." It's like, "Oh, nice." And then they'd be like, "Oh, hey, you're something else looks wrong about you." And he's like, "Oh, that's my new XYZ." I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a great deal on it. Got it from this dude in an alley, $5." I was like, "Oh, I see." And then of course, comedy comes in threes. And the one, the scene that lives rent free in my brain, the gag that lives rent free in my brain, is where he goes, "Oh, yeah, man, my heart, it feels really funny. It's racing really fast." And his friend goes, "What's the matter? Is there something wrong?" He's like, "Well, I just got a new one." It's like, "A new one?" "Yeah, I had this dude do a heart transplant for me in an alley, $5." He's like, "Oh man, I don't think that's good for you." He's like, "No, it's fine, it looked totally legit." And then he has like a chest plate that just busts open, and it's all bloody, and there's like a black metal actuator going, and just, oh, it was like chest burster status, and whew, yeah, it was like, oh man, I think you need to go get your money back. Ooh, ooh, ooh. If you're having trouble getting into a tight angle on one of these cuts, start farther away at like a perpendicular angle, and then work your way up and over to get into the corner. At least that's what I'm doing, and it seems to be working. You know, a little gentle pressure to convince the fleshy innards to move along, little doggy. But you really gotta keep a sense. You really gotta stay aware of the pressure you're applying, because you may find you may give yourself. You may ask yourself, "Is this my beautiful wife?" And you may say, is this my jack-o'-lantern? Because yeah, some of these sections may get really narrow, really small. Detail work on pumpkins, I'm doing it wrong. Like you really remember I mentioned cosplays earlier? I think they should definitely be like good enough closet cosplays where you're like, oh, tight, that's what that is, nice. Because you're gonna read it, you want to be able to read them from the street, read them from down the walkway, and be like, tight, that's what that is. You don't want to have to walk up to the pumpkin like it's fucking sketch work at a museum. Thanks. Haha, same as it ever was, same as ever was. Hell yeah. I get that reference. So yeah, so this in particular is definitely close-up magic, if you will. Whereas I think a bigger, bolder pattern is actually a much better pumpkin overall. Okay. So this is two larger-ish sections, and we're done. Well, yeah. So let's see if it reads. Hey, we're almost at time too, so I might just finish this on time in stream. Hell yeah. Okay. Like a canapé, just right there on the edge of the toothpick. What is a canapé? My brain is suddenly like, brother, you don't know what a canapé is. And I'm like, I don't. Is it just a fancy hors d'oeuvre? Is it a particular kind of hors d'oeuvre? Someone hit up Wikipedia for me. Toss it in chat. Oh, okay, this one's delicate. Horse Dover. Oh, it's fine. We're good. We're good. We're cruising. Here comes the home stretch. Oh, yeah. Paint guy. I would think you might know this, being a gastromonde. I think I just made that word up. A dude who makes and enjoys food. You know what? I think it works. I think it works. I think it'll do. I'm on one of them gastropubs. Thanks, Pinka. Yeah, canapes are just very fancy little appetizers that use a base, spread, and topping. So Cheese Whiz, Ritz crackers, and salami are technically a canape. Typing slow on my phone. Yeah! I love that I make canapes on a regular basis. I love that Lunchables are a canape. Oh, well, no, a spread. So, oh, yeah, so if you have, like, the pizza Lunchables, that's a canape. All right, y'all. It's a pumpkin. Okay. All right. Hey, JC. Bring my flashlight. Sorry if I shouted right into the camera because it's at that angle. We're going to get my flashlight, which has lumens, and you're going to see, and we'll see if we can get the effect of this pumpkin tonight. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge at these angles, but we're going to make it happen. You got my flashlight?
No.
Oh, Please go get my flashlight from the nightstand. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna make the cameras really angry and turn off lights because we need lights for this, and we'll see. Because we need less light for this to work. But the camera will love the end result. Let's see here, yeah, just do. All right. So I've got less light from around, but light coming dead on. So I'm still here to hang out with you. Pizza, Lunchables, or canapes in a behold a man kind of way. Excellent reference. Love that. The part you will not get to enjoy with me is the cleaning up. But I do want to share a couple little pieces here. Some of you may have noticed my sweet kit, which is an advanced pumpkin carving kit that includes some pottery tools. Although the pumpkin shell is a bit more resilient than wet clay. So as you may have noticed, I used basically the same like 2 or 3 tools to really get through the skin. But we will upgrade these tools little by little over the years, and it'll be great. Because yeah, as you saw, I'm definitely using them. All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so this is a 2-parter. You ready? Here comes the first part. So the front of the pumpkin is one mythic beast. Oh. Does it read? I think it reads the Red Bull from The Last Unicorn, because on the back, oh hell yeah, it works. Because on the back, let me see if I can get it. Right. Is the last unicorn. Okay. Sound the kazoos. Okay, it doesn't quite work at that angle. Let me just, there we go. It's a horse with a horn. Ta-da! Ooh, yo, that's neat as heck. Yeah. Traumatized all over again. You're welcome. What is horror if not repeated trauma? You get a trauma, and you get a trauma, and you get a trauma. So yeah, so this was something I saw a couple years back while trawling different pumpkin ideas. That yeah, the front sits out, and you can see it out in the yard or wherever, right? You got the shading and it's real cool. And then from the back projected up on the wall is the other side, so it's like it's shadow play. It's great. All right, we're at 9:01. We have a pumpkin. We've told some stories. Happy Halloween, friends. Happy Halloween. I hope you had a great time. I had a great time. Thank you to all my friends again. If you want to keep having these kind of delightful, fun times with us here in the garage, the Grognard Garage, GG, do all the things. Keep coming back. Wednesdays, 7, every week. Like 50 plus weeks of the year. We're probably going to do another holiday stream over the winter break. I'm going to do story time. We'll see if Bella helps me out like she usually does. The Grognard gang isn't going to do a lot more traveling. But Yumicon in Santa Clara, San Jose, technically by the Niners Stadium. We're going to have 2 panels this year, probably one on each day. Keep an eye on our socials for the exact times and locations. We're going to be giving away prizes. I'm going to be doing a board game tabletop panel, and I'm going to be doing a nerdcore panel because that's what we do. And then, yeah, get us on the socials. Go follow our friends on the socials, especially Miss Spooky Pie, who's doing her thing on a very regular basis. Check it out. Excellent content, especially if you're into the scary, spooky, kooky And to all a good spooky night. Exactly. Thanks much, Garage Gang. We'll see you next week. If not,